Good morning. We're live. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Let's get started with some texturing of our lion in this CG Lion series. This will be the last part of the live streams for the lion. Once we're done with texturing, and I'll move on to grooming and CFX, rigging, or any R&D experiments that I might do with this. It will go behind a tiny paywall, which I will announce when it's ready. But that doesn't mean I'll stop streaming. I'll just move on to other creatures, other models. So the way I plan to do this is obviously keep the modeling and texturing uh, within the YouTube channel for free for everybody to learn anatomy and understand my process and whatever I else I bring to the table. As you know, sometimes I do some Telugu videos because I'm uh, originally from India and I speak Telugu. And when I decide to have a little chit chat with my brother in Telugu, talking about mostly VFX related things, but could also be other stuff like AI. Um, those videos will be in our regional language. But any tutorials or courses that I might do, again, I like to appeal to my UK and US audience as well. So they'll all be in English. Um, so just wanted to start by saying that. Um, but having said that, this is one of the most interesting and the fun parts of the process. Texturing, especially in Mari, which is an industry standard software used in Hollywood for movies and stuff. It is also software that is available for free, so all you have to do is just download the non-commercial version and follow along. And yeah, there's so much fun that could be had with Mari. And I'm gonna start a new project here and bring in the lions. So between streams, I obviously exported my lions from Blender, made sure the scale is right, and so on. And I've created a couple of models, which I'll show you in a second. So if you go to ZBrush, the Rolling Pixel Projects, Line project files. I think it'll be in Blender. So there's one that says Mari Final FBX. So this is the model with all the UV tiles set up as they should. So that's what we're going to start with. But there's also the skin groom, which I will import momentarily. So my way of starting a Mari project, and this could vary from person to person, situation to situation. But most people working in the industry, I mean, you first of all, that this is fine. You can just leave that as normal single mesh. It's just that because it has all these different meshes, it's asking whether I want them separate or single. Single is fine because we will isolate parts of the model based on the UV patches. So I'm going to leave that there. I don't have any animation now. Mari does allow you to bring in some animations, but I don't have any at the moment. So I'm going to click single frame, and the most important bit happens in the next two tabs. The firstly the channels and the root path here. You could want to change this. I don't want it to be in C, so I'm going to create one and say have a root path here. You may not be bothered, but I have to really be careful with my C drive. So yeah, I'm going to choose that. And it's just any temp files and stuff. I think it needs to save in there. uh, I hope that's what it is. Well, I can't remember, but yeah, let's go with that for now. And the category here, you can choose something like typically most people who work in production, they work with Mari and Arnold, or Houdini and Arnold as a renderer, so they tend to go with the Arnold standard surface VFX. So let's just there's also this one. Oh, just Autodesk. is it? Okay, so just click Arnold for now, and the template, don't need any template. Prefixes, we don't need to look at that. um, the other thing I might do is except for the diffuse color, I'm going to disable everything else, because these channels we will create inside Mari, and we don't need anything to import at this point. So I'm just making sure I've got diffuse color, and that is fine. And this is a this is for some reason it gets disabled. So diffuse color is a, yeah, I mean that's okay, actually that is right. Is there anything else? Automatic linear, and let's go to color settings. So it is always nuke default, but we want to change this to Aces. I'm going to change this to Aces, the latest one, 1.3, and the rest, yeah, float is Mari float, Aces CG, that's correct, sRGB, yeah, that's all okay. So let's create the project. It should import our line with the standard shader. So that's the standard ACES shader and our line right here. And if I go now to Ortho and UV, I should have all of my patches. There you are. All the 16 patches are there. So bottom is all the eyes, and the top part is the body. And that's typically how it's set up in production. And so we have this diffuse color channel, which I don't even need, but anyway, this is just so we have something of a base. So the next thing to do is to import some of the channels. So we do have, if I say channels, import into new channel, and say, so I've got we've got the displacement map from ZBrush. So all the sculpt details are exported using the multi-map exporter. So the displacements exported, but I also exported the ambient occlusion and cavity from ZBrush. There are plenty of videos explaining how you can do that in ZBrush, so there's no point for me to repeat myself. So I'm going to select a channel called disp for the displacement, and this is a raw, and it is scalar. Is it scalar? It's non. This is used for non-color image, yeah. So it is scalar because it's non-color, and it is raw, and it's not HSCG, so I'll leave it as raw. And it's 30. The texture that I exported from ZBrush was a 16-bit texture, and that's because it just looks better. The 16-bit, 32-bit is what we would want ultimately when we export it, but that's what we'll do from Mari. So this is like the interim displacement texture anyway. So let's leave the channel to 32. Just the texture might be 16. I think it's still okay. And so this is like the mid gray value, or because we're going to import because it's a displacement map, and 0.5 is like the mid, like neutral. We could select that, and I'll explain why it's useful to have something there. So line merged only, all objects, doesn't matter because we only have one object in this case. So click that, and now it'll ask to import because we want to import the channel. So where is it? So I've saved it somewhere where line project files, mme maps, and here we have the line z dis tiff. That should be the one. So import all patches. Should take a moment. And import somewhere random. So just to show you how this look like. Now I don't like to connect the displacement to the displacement input here, because this is like the actual displacement, which means we have to tessellate the model, and that will slow up your Mari quite a bit. So typically to view displacement, we plug it into the bump. So this is like a cheaper way to view your displacement, if that makes sense. So let's go to back to ortho or something and zoom it on the guy, and we're gonna check, well, let's check the map itself first, just to see if it's come out all right. So if I just select the channel and click one of the numbers, 1, 2, or anything really like that, so it just plugs into there, you can see that this is the displacement map. This is what I exported from ZBrush. And the good thing about this is it actually, uh, because it's a grayscale and non-scalar image, it actually works pretty well as a cavity map as well. So although I did export another cavity map, most of the times, I don't do that, because this works just fine, gives me all the details. So just use the levels node to get the mask that I need from this, and it works just fine. So we'll see. So we'll go with this for now, and so now that it's connected to the bump, let's go back to the material and see why we can't see any bump. So if I go down here, bump. Alright, so it's UV space fast is fine. Maybe the bump weight needs to go up. Yeah, so if I do that, you don't want to go too much high because it does bring in some artifacts, because it's not actual displacement. um, but maybe also try accurate. Might slow down your system, so use it at your own peril. Right, okay. um, so the the viewport in Mari I never really understood. It goes a bit crazy at times, but when you go like to a crazy angle and you don't know how to get back, you can always click reset camera and then zoom back. So just a tip in case you're wondering. So obviously, because this isn't like a starter Mari tutorial, there'll be things that I'll do and you may not understand, but that's okay. But most of the things I believe you can follow along, because I haven't changed any of the UI. It's just the default setup. So yeah, let's look at the specular values now. I want to bring up the roughness to something like 0.8, and the IOR is, let's do 1.44, which I think is closest to a skin sort of setup. I also like to give a little clear coat weighting, maybe of 0.5. So that's like the secondary specular value, right? And you can also adjust the roughness on this and also make this 4.4. So yeah, so it looks a little bit like he's got some reflection, sweaty skin or whatever, um, that helps us see him better. So it looks okay. But the next thing we shall tweak is the lighting. So at the moment, the lighting isn't too bad actually. I thought it'd be worse than this. Uh, but let me see if I can make it better. So if I go here, click this light. Usually there's like three or four, in fact four lights that are active. So if I just say remove 4, so 4 is the rim light, so we don't mind that. 3 is the one in the front, 1 comes on the side, and I'm looking to keep it as flat as possible, which is why I said this is kind of looking good. But if you were to tweak it, you just click one of these lights and you see, you go down here, you can change the intensity, um, and make sure that it fixed to either scene or camera. It usually works better if you do it on fix it on the camera. So the main lights that you need. So if you just say camera, regardless of where how you move it, it just looks through that camera. So sometimes that works, but in this case, look, if I turn sideways and go back to scene, it's just flat. So I tend to like this for most of the cases. So yeah, so let's leave lighting for now. If it's a problem, we can always change it. That's how you do it. So there's also rotation. So if I scroll down a little bit, you can change the position by moving this guy around. And so I'm gonna reset that like that and have this really flat looking light, because that's the way you can see the textures the best, I guess, because it's so flat. And the next thing to do is we need to create some receivers and broadcasters. So this is not typically how it's done in Mari, because the nodes can get really complicated really quickly. What we tend to do is now I'm not gonna strictly follow a proper way to do things in Mari, because there's a lot that we do. But with this model, it's not so much about texturing, right? It's just getting the base textures so we can then use that in our fur creation and so on. We'll try to keep it as simple as possible, but there's some things that there's always best to follow. And first of all, I need a teleport receiver, and we're gonna also need a teleporter broadcaster. So broadcast, teleport broadcast. And in this broadcast we can define different channels. So if I say this is one channel, right, diffuse color, let's copy the same name into here, right? So that's your diffuse color, and then this will receive the diffuse color. And then what we do is, instead of connecting this to diffuse color, we just take this output to diffuse color, and this can then go here. So now I can take this away somewhere and build this network. And then finally, whatever's connected here, I could also have like a bake node in the middle. So create the textures, bake it, broadcast it, and then all it does here is plug it um, to the material. And we want to do pretty much the same. So say specular, just say roughness. Oops, I did the wrong one. Might as well just get a new node, receiver, and this will be, we'll have to create some channels as well. So say channels, add channel, and just do specular, name is, let's say roughness. Roughness is, you don't have to do a 4K. I mean, that's the default. I haven't changed it, but with these ones, just make sure they're all 16-bit. 32-bit is an overkill, and you could just do 2K maps for the channels. But what we export could be like 4K or 8K. And this is also scalar, and oh, there are some roles. Is data raw? Mari float SSAJ. It is a float, so I'll just do. In fact, the displacement should have also been a floating point, so it's a Mari float. and your scalar data. That looks correct. That would have been more accurate. And it's a default, and then give it a roughness. That's the name. ICCG, scalar data, because it's a black and white mask value essentially, and not color. And we will start with, we don't have to start with anything, just I think the black is fine. So just say line merge only. And where is it gone? Somewhere here. And it's this paint node that we put our stuff, you know, the specular map, and that will be connected to another broadcaster. Broadcast. And give this the name roughness. And then the receiver will then get its roughness from that. And that can go into specular roughness. As this goes into it, it might change what we see here, depending on what's in this. No, there's nothing there. Okay, so that's diffuse, and this is specular. And what you can also do is, I think there's a way to group them. Not group, but selection. Nah, there is a. I forgot how you'd get a background. I think it's called background. Backdrop. Yeah, the backdrop. Backdrop. I saw it somewhere. Where are you? Miscellaneous backdrop. Yeah, and then you just name it. Right. So just some of the things that you should think about. Don't I won't worry about renaming everything in this live stream or recoloring them. I'll do that off stream before the next one. But just wanted to show you some of the basics here that we can follow. Backdrop 1. Again, the colors and everything, they can be changed. So I'll do that at some point. So that'll be your specular, and then you can then do, these are the two main channels that I'll be exporting. And then we'll also set up a quick look dev before the end of the stream, so we can see how the results are in Houdini. So diffuse, specular, and there is we could also do transmission, subsurface color, radius scale, and so on. I am not too bothered about them right now, because subsurface, all we're gonna do is a mask for the scale, and the rest is gonna be set up inside Houdini or any DCC package anyway. So I'm gonna, we're gonna start with just that. So focusing on the albedo now. So we can move this diffuse color channel all the way here. Maybe move this guy outside, and this will be the last, and all the work happens in the middle. And I would like to start with some kind of procedural setup, because the lion, we don't have any references in the wild, do we, of the skin, but the closest we have is one of those the Sphinx cats. Is it Sphinx, that a cat without a fur? I see a lot of artists tend to get references from that, but I'm going to be even more generic in this video. So let's get whatever reference we have at the moment, which is these Pexels ones. Are these any good? There should be another one. Color space is, yeah, sRGB texture, that is correct. So these are just to look at, you know, and this is the raw data, and this is the linearized. This can just help us to sample some colors if required. Uh, this might be a good one to look at the nose. So I'm gonna obviously check these on another screen for details, zoom in and stuff. But this is a way to the image manager basically helps us to sample colors if you need to. Normally I would convert this into an ACES image and make sure that I'm getting the ACES version of the colors, but I think the new Mari actually does a pretty good job. So that's like so this is the linearized version, I think. But yeah, this is just for reference. I'm not gonna use the exact colors anyway. Okay, so all of this is for the fur. So you might be wondering, well, what am I doing with the skin then? Well, I'm gonna show you something. So here we have a lion, which is just for the skin with all of our UV tiles. But I did create another UV set. So this is going to be our skin groom FBX. I hope I saved it right. And single frame again, say open. And this is the other one. So I'm going to hide this for a second. And this one, as you can see, is just the skin. It doesn't have the eyes or anything else. And it's only a single tile. And this is typically how we do for grooming. So all the groom part we paint on this image with this model, and then the actual production model inside our DCC would have both the UV sets in separate channels. So a model can have two UV sets, but I don't think you can import a model with both the UV sets in Mari. I tried it, but it always gets the one with more tiles, uh, regardless of how I order the things. So just um, to work around that, so I'm going to import both these models separately, not as a separate version, but separate model itself, and we're going to worry about painting this after we're done with the main one, because the groom is going to use a different texture to the actual skin. Okay, so back in here, so I said we're going to start procedural. So for that we need a procedural node. The one that I like to begin with is this marble texture. So if you just viewed it now, this would look something like this all over. And here we have a little bit of a problem because we want this to apply to just the skin, whereas here you can see it just goes on to do everything. I don't know, maybe it's okay to have for the eyes as well. Or we'll apply to everything and then yeah, we'll fix areas later. That might be a better way. So first of all, I want to make a few changes to this values. The scale might be too high, so let's just say these are kind of like the veins, right, of the skin. And how big do we want this? And there's also frequency that we can tweak. Higher is worse, but lower is too much of a design. So something in here, I'm going to reset that actually. An increment could also be higher, maybe. And here the vein color, give it something maybe neutral. and the bleed could be maybe like that, something again pretty neutral. And then the background, which is white at the moment. So a lion's skin under his fur is very dark, like a very like the darkish brown. But let's go something like that for now. And then we'll play with the bleed amount and the other stuff. So maybe the veins don't have to be that light. And now for the octaves. So these are not meant to be exact veins, it's just some kind of breakup we're trying to achieve here. Even lower scale might do it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here where it's got a lot of darkness on the face. And the bleed is also, I think, too light. I'll keep it similar to the rest of it. And the veins can also be something like that. Okay, just as a base. And this can go into the over bit. We don't need this paint node. And if I now view the material, so it looks like that, pretty dark, probably darker than I intended, but that's fine because we'll be adding a lot of variation on top of it. And here, clicking the merge node, if I click M again, that will add another merge. And there's another node that I really like, and I'm going to bring that up now. It's cloud. So if you view this, it's gonna be, it has this really patchy kind of sorry, it looks like my connection got lost briefly, so I hope I'm back now. Right, so here I'm going to obviously change the size and also reduce the roughness, so it's a bit smoother like that, has more cloudy nature to it, and see what size works best. And then A could be a slightly sort of a lighter brown, but pretty neutral, like within this range, the 0.5. And then B is dark, but maybe not as black. So let's have that. And another thing, I mean, this is at the moment quite random, um, but even here you can see how we get some light areas around the muzzle and slightly darker on the nose already. Ear, we're going to paint on top of it, so I'm not worried about that. And that's kind of what I want to get, like a base, brownish, a dark base. There's quite a few patches going on. So yeah, just right at the bat, it's really beautiful procedural and gets us some decent results. Here, what I'd like to also do is bring the cavity map into a new channel. So let's just say, oh, the cavity or ambient occlusion. Let's bring both. AO. Let's leave it automatic. Let's say scalar. Did I say import or decorate in channel? Okay, let's just import. Channel, import into new channel. AO. I think we should start with default. I don't know if that's gonna make any difference, but select default and then give it a name as a rule, which may not be necessary. AO, import all patches. So I don't need the actual channel, it's just the only way I know to import a file. So if I'm going to delete all of this and say view this. So this is like the AO map I exported from ZBrush. So what I could do is the cloud, if I say it's here, right? This is the actual cloud texture we have. So I'm going to make this a lighter variation overall. So it's going to be the dark is here and the light could be a little bit more saturated, also less intensity. And then if I put this as a mask, I just want to see how that's going to look. So that's what we get. Because I'm using uh, the white parts of the ambient occlusion to show the cloud, and everywhere else we have that one that's underneath, which is really dark. But in all fairness, I wanted, this is probably too light anyway, so a couple of ways we can get around it. Either we can just reduce the intensity of this merge, which actually works really well, I think, in this case. And I'm also going to try to multiply this. If I multiply this, yeah, that's really nice. Then maybe we can bring the intensity up. Now let's leave it normal and bring the intensity down. That looks pretty decent. The other thing that we should really do, even before we start painting to have the best result, is work on the displacement, because our displacement is just the base displacement, it's not the final displacement by any means. So if I take a look at this, and for now let's just unplug the bump map, sorry, the diffuse, go back here and say this is what we have at the moment, right? But we obviously need a lot more detail on the nose and the overall skin as well. So Let's see what we can do to add that. So first of all, we have this. I'm going to move this aside. We should have done displacement receiver as well. So let's try that. Receiver teleporter. And let's plug this into the pump map. And we're gonna have to rename these receivers properly as well. That's something you can do. Instead of just calling it receiver 2, let's move this guy back while we work on him. Say this is the one that goes into the broadcast. And this is call it disp, and then receivers getting the disp. Okay, so we got back our bump, and let's work on the guy here. Once again, move this fella, move this to the side. So we want to add a new paint node after this. So click N to create another merge, N, and then say create a paint. Oh, not paint. We're gonna first add a procedural one. So Perlin noise. How about that? Let's see how that looks like. So this is just to create some basic bumps on the skin. So we do one for the skin and one separately for the nose. So let's look at this, put this guy over, and that will obviously create some problems. Let's look at the Berlin map. So now we have the nice bumpy. Let's look at Berlin alone. And so this is kind of how it is. And so the way I'm thinking, the B is obviously black and 0 and 1, so we may not need that much of a range. We'll adjust that using a separate node, but the Perlin size itself, if you just bring it down to something even less than that, and then merge, you just say screen, so it sort of adds to the displacement underneath. And where is it? Screen is under lighten, right? And now if I look at the material itself, so you got this bumpy skin happening, right? Which is still too high, so I'm going to now use this view to get the size down. It's not just the size, it's the intensity that's the problem. So for the B, instead of being all the way to black, I'm going to bring it up to say 0.4. So 0.4, and then A could be 0.6 or 0.55. So that will reduce the range of it. So it looks like a bumpy skin, but we also have those details from before. And then we have this luxury to adjust the amount slider. So if I go all the way to 0, it's just the same one as before. Bring it slightly up and then zoom in, and you can see you have that nice skin bump. This is why I don't like to do this in ZBrush, because you have to go really high subdivision levels to get this detail, which you can so easily get inside of Mari. So looking at the face here, maybe I could reduce the size of the Perlin as well to 0.1, 0.12. So that's like a neat sort of random bumpy skin, right? But on the nose, we need an additional level of bumps. So um, for this, I'm going to again use Perlin, but duplicate this. CB. The other thing is obviously right now the bump it applies to even the eyes and the teeth all over, right? We which we don't want, so we need to have a create a mask um, for which this applies to. And one way to do that, because this is all we can create a mask right inside of Mari. So the way I'm going to do that is by selecting these UV patches just to see what I'm capturing. So these are tails. Oh, here we have the teeth, right? Oh, is it the teeth or the nails? Oh, we don't want nails, so that's not gonna work. Um, I'm just gonna select the patches here. Yeah, that excludes the. And you can create a mask from selection. Mask, selection mask. So there's also the UV mask, UDEMY mask, but what we need is a selection mask in this case. And so we have that, and you can say cache it. So that's now this selection mask just for the skin. And if I now do a mask, I should not have anything, those bumps anywhere else. So if I remove this, do I see any bumps on the eye? I don't really see. Yeah. So if you see this eye here, if I unconnect this mask, oh, it doesn't seem to have worked. Why is that? Select. So that's the mask. Oh, we have visibility selection. Create patch selection set. We can do that. We can create a set. We might need it later and call it skin, so that it's easier to get back to it later. But they should really have. If I okay, do that. What's it gonna do? Yeah, it does select just the skin. So selection does work. Ah, maybe I need to invert it. Let's go back to see what's happening when I connect the mask. So here we have mask. If I remove it, still there. Well, let's select these two patches and say hide unselected. So we only have these areas, and what I'm going to do is for now just increase the size, see if it's having an effect. Yeah, it is having an effect. Right, So there you see. Now if I connect this mask, yeah, it's gone. Okay, just needed to confirm it's working. Looks like it is. So let's bring back everything. Oops. Visibility show all and hide the other guy. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Just needed to verify things were working as expected. So now we got a little bit of a bump, right, going on. I'm going to go further with the displacement map. So let's focus on the nose. We'll mask it later. And just bring my reference to the nose. I think this is a good one. So that's the kind of purlin bumpy noise I'm going for. So this purlin 1, maybe this we can go to something like 0.65. So it's the whiter it is, the more the value that goes in, and B, which goes under, that for now can stay where it is. So I'm going to do another N, merge, and add this purlin on top, over. See how that looks. So we're going to only focus on the nose because we're going to mask everything away. Size can be smaller, but not that small, obviously. And this is obviously bump and not the actual displacement, so even if it looks a little bit awkward, don't worry too much about it. It's the shape that we want to look at. This is not as round as I hoped, so let's try getting another one. What sort of noise is this? Voronoi? Voronoi might work for this one. So we can take this UV and project it in there. Okay, and now play with the Voronoi settings. Space UV. Let's look at the Voronoi itself. So that's the output. UV is... Oh, okay. I should have probably put UV. I think the position we need to get like a... I don't know. What's happening? Ah, there. It's too small, that's all. Okay. So I need to go this way. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at Voronoi. Up and close. So right now this is like a mosaic. That's not what I want. Cellular. Yeah, that's what we want. So this looks a lot like those bumps that we saw in the reference image. And jitter right now is 165. Ah, this is like a nice pattern, isn't it? So maybe we want a bit of jitter, but not that much. Okay, the colors now we're gonna have to adjust. Obviously, we don't want it all the way black. Intensity 0.4 and B is let's do 0.6, and that looks better. Maybe even 0.55. Okay. Yeah, definitely not that small. Make it a little bit bigger. That is getting there. Let's look at the image again. Okay. Now let's select the faces here. Right click and face mode. Drag these faces and say right click, selection. There is create selection group, patch selection or selection. I'm not sure, but let's go with patch. Say nose 01, and then let's create a selection mask. So while it's selected, say cache, and then look at it. Oh, that wasn't the nose at all. Brilliant. That wasn't the nose. Would you believe it? It looked like the nose. Right, okay, now, okay, we'll cache this and call this one nose mask, and this is the skin mask. Okay, and now let's look at the material. So now you can see there's a lot more bump. Obviously the nose selection is probably not exact. Oh, we didn't plug it in. We didn't plug the mask. That's why it's everywhere else. And now, please be good. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, it might be best to get a proper tileable texture and project it on here. But also, we are looking at the bump map. So in look dev, we should have more control. If not, we can export this patch separately as a separate texture and then control it inside Mari. There are different ways to approach it. I just want to get a base in this session and worry about tweaking it more later. But anyway, this is all procedural. We will paint over some of these areas so it's smoothened out. But yeah, I just got those bumps. But the other thing is I want some random bumps of different sizes, like just typical of a skin, right? So that part we will see what we can do to achieve that. There's another procedural node, cloud cellular clamp cellular. I think is good for that kind of thing. So if I view this by itself, so you have these, right? So these can be used to create those blemishes of sorts. So once again, let's bring the intensity to 0.4 being the minimum, and maximum is 0.6. have different types here, so let's see which one is going to work best for us. F2, F1, maybe just F1. So yeah, this Manhattan, quite a lot of things that you find in pretty much every DCC, noise, textures and stuff. Right, so size, obviously fairly small, something like that will do. Let's say I put it over, and this will be a screen. Was this a screen as well? We had it as normal. I think normal would have worked fine for that nose part. Still like to keep it as screen. And look at the displacement texture. So this is how it's looking. Yeah, that's much better actually. In fact, this might actually work even better for the nose. Let's see. Okay, it's actually inverted, isn't it? How is that? So can we do an invert? Let's have a node that separate node for invert. Invert. Put that in. Put that over just to see if it's doing the right thing. Yeah, that does. So obviously the bumps are too big. So we shall reduce the size. The size I think is good. Maybe a little higher. So normally for this sort of thing, I would use texture XYZ textures and project them. But I'm trying to keep it as procedural as possible and keep it free from those because I do intend to share this with you guys at some point, and I don't want any licensing issues to get with texture XYZ. So that's the main issue. Plus, it's just more fun this way. So now I want to draw a mask, so this is not seen everywhere. So in fact, if I go even higher on the size and say this is the size of the blemish I like to see, what I can then do is create a paint node which is gonna be all black. Yeah, that's fine. And it is a raw, I mean, it's scalar data, and I don't know what is for the space vector, but I'm gonna leave it as is, and doesn't have to be a massive resolution. And I'm gonna plug this mask into mask, and it'll disappear. And then I can take my graphic pen to select a brush. Now there's a cool thing here that I would like you to guys to observe, watch if you can. So right now the brush that I have is just a standard brush. So if I go to painting, um, in fact brushes, where's the brushes? Shelf. So if I click shelf, or you can just get it up by clicking anywhere on the canvas and click K. Press K, and you can select your brushes here, right? So Mari, and you can find the brush that you want. say soft. So there's super soft slow, and all these nice brushes, right? So super soft is really good. So get that. But right now, if you paint on it, let's just zoom on this. Uh, yeah, Alt and then middle click drag. Let's say we like to get some bump here, and I select white, and you see you're basically drawing that mask. Now if you want even more breakup, you know, you're going to control Z that. Under filtering, is it? No, not filtering. So this is the painting menu. So you have a masking. So you have this fractal noise mask that you can set. I mean, it's already selected for me. So I could say it's basically if I showed you just the paint node. Let's look at just the paint node. So right now I've got a little bit of masking going on here, but you can change the seed, and this is basically, as you can see, it's using that fractal noise, so it's not like an exact reveal, and that is really cool. So it adds, so the brush itself has this masking that you can give, but if you don't want the mask, you can say masking disable is on, says you do that, and then it's just a basically your original super soft brush, but then and also you can have this preview mask enabled, so it shows you where the mask is. And anyway, so I'm going to undo that, and now go back to viewing guy and disable this. Let's just say there's one random blemish here, just making sure that the paint is selected, paint node. There's a blemish there. Maybe there could be one over here. And also we'll try disabling the mask for a couple others. And we also don't have mirror turned on. Sometimes you might want that, but in most cases it's not required. So right now when I click Alt, my painting sort of bakes in. So in Mari you can do baking manually as well, so it doesn't have to be every time you click Alt. I like it this way. I don't know why this menu keeps coming up. Maybe my tablet settings aren't right. thinking where this could be useful. So my paint buffer, can I don't see where my paint buffer is. It's probably too big. So I think to adjust the paint buffer, it should mention here, it's 250% zoom, it says. But if I, is it Control Z, Control Shift Z, Control Alt Z? Yeah, Control Alt Z is, thought that, no, that's just, forgot the shortcut, but you can adjust the zoom on the paint buffer. I'm going to check that later before the next stream, because the paint buffer helps you when you're painting. It helps you determine the resolution of the paint. So if you want to paint just a small area with really high res, especially when you're doing projections, it's really relevant and useful. Okay, let's say that's enough for displacement for this session. Obviously, I'll keep tweaking more. Um, let's get back to coloring. The reason it's useful to do the displacement first is because you can then use those the data from that and put it in your diffuse stuff coloring as well. So where's the diffuse? Is this the diffuse? Brush roughness? Here we are. So where were we before? So we had a pretty dark thing going on. So in the merge, I'll bring this up a little bit, and now you see it's really good. This is really bad, the notes, I know. But I'll come back to that. It might be best to get the proper alpha and then project it for that. So overall, this is the diffuse for the skin. So let's try to focus on the eyes, and once we get that, and I'll start painting some of these areas and get a basic roughness, which we can test out in Houdini or Blender. Let's do it in Blender today. I'll do Houdini some other time. Right, so I'm going to select these patches. Oh, I'm in face mode. So selection, patch mode. So patch patch this. These two, and maybe even these, I'm going to link patches, link selected, patch, images, and I'm also going to visibility and hide unselected. So what we have left is this. So I want to add obviously a different color to the eyes, and I also want to use, how does this, let me check what this is. Oh, we haven't got much any detail on the eyes, so we may have to borrow this from the displacement map. Yeah, so we want to get that. The way we can do that is get the original displacement paint node, which is what has this detail. I'm going to copy paste this. Did I copy paste it? Control C, Control V. will be. There you are. Okay, I'm gonna bring this guy over into our diffuse. Check that he's... No, he hasn't. That's not the one. Ah, this is the one. Okay, get this guy over here, and now I'm going to add a merge. And first of all, we'll do the color. So this is what we have, but what we want is nice and orangey stuff, which is in our image here. So I want something like that, yellowy orange. So this paint, I'm going to create another paint node, which is the actual color. And this will be automatic into CG, and I'm just going to go transparent. Oh, actually just do black. And it's not scalar, so I'm going to untick that. Say OK, and go over. Actually, there's one thing I wanted to do, change this to 4K. And the depth can be 8-bit actually, because it's just color. And go over and paint. Actually, yeah, let's do paint, and we'll do it on the UV tile. Select this color, so like it's orangey, and I'm still using super soft. Maybe that's not the best brush for this. Default should be fine. And if I right click, patches, mirror left to right, is it? No patches, oh shit, not that. So select the patches, fill, patches, mirror, left to right, should do the trick. Didn't, why? Oh, maybe because I didn't bake the paint. So first you bake it, then select it. 1, 2, right click, patches, mirror, left, I didn't, mirror, left to right. Why does it not work? So, patches, did I not link it? Because I normally, link selected patch images, ah, there, okay. So I need to link it, and then it works fine. The one thing is, maybe I want the borders to be dark. So if I reduce the intensity on this, something weird happening with my pen. And then just take the brush, for this one I think I need the soft brush, super soft. tablet is hanging. Don't do that, don't do that. Let's save the project. Okay, that was close. I thought it was gonna crash on me. Super soft. Let's go a little dark on the edges. And patches. Okay, so that's good. But what I also want to do is multiply these two together. So I think you can simply do a mathematical multiplication instead of using the merge node. Multiply. So A, B, and see what that gives us. Is that. And if I put that in, this is a diffuse channel. Okay, so that looks good. But obviously we need to mask this. No, I don't think we need to, because this is what does the paint do? Let's reveal everything so we know for sure. Visibility, show all. Yeah, everything else is black because of I used a bloody black, haven't I? That's my fault. I could have just used a transparent instead. That would have done the trick. But now it means that I need to get this eye mask, iris mask. So create a iris mask. In fact, this could be like a UDEMY mask. Ah, I think selection mask is better. So selection mask, and this is the iris mask. And then we get everything else back. Sweet. So I'm gonna hide the top of the eyes just so we can see. Visibility hide selected. Why is this brown? Yeah, so that's gone over. And this is, oh, we didn't bake the selection. My fault. So select that, selection mask, and cache it. Yeah, there we go. So there we have some eyes and some base texture. So this means we can set up. Now there's a lot to do here, and I know the stream is getting pretty long. So what I'm gonna do is we'll test this out in Blender just to see, get some basic look dev going. So you, whoever's following, will have some understanding of where this is headed next. Okay, so let's do a test. Save it, save this, and I'm going to do our first export. So which is, I think, this one, bakery, no, export manager. So we've got diffuse, roughness is, oh actually why don't we just do something with the roughness before. So right now our roughness is basically nothing, but what we can do is get a basic roughness from this paint node, the displacement mask map rather, and let's say we put that in instead of that. and say just view this separately. So right now this is just a displacement mass a map which I'm using as a um, specular. So obviously this will be quite, let's just see quite a bit of difference in how material looks. Okay, so there's a change, right? So if I do that, it means just no specular, it's just the clear coat that we're seeing. So instead of that, just do this, right? And I'm also going to remove clear coating, so we are only looking at the specular. Let's bring the weight all the way down to 0. So this is what we're looking at, and actually it's not too bad. Just a displacement map as a specular map is better than nothing. But I'll probably want this to be inverted at least, and then maybe tweak the levels. So let's add the invert node. So we want the shiny parts to be up here, and anywhere in the crevices there's no specularity. So that's what we want. And we can also, before even inverting, add a levels node. Cancel that. Tab levels, and then just look at this by itself. So that's what it's currently at, but we'll say get this the whites. Where's levels? Oh, there you are. So the white output, if we bring it down, so it's not all that white, and the blacks being fine, and also here the mid, we can bring this down, and also like the gap between black and white, so if we bring them down, also a little bit to black. So some areas very specular around the lips and the chin, and we'll have to paint over these. This is just a cheat at the moment. We're going to address some of the areas like the chin where it's too specular, and that's more like the roughness of a line, I would say. So if you see from this angle, there's a little bit of shine because these creatures don't sweat. So whatever specularity we get, it'll be on the fur when it's really wet. But just for our look dev, I'm gonna maybe bring this white up a little bit to just over 0.5. So that's roughness, and let's export this. We've got displacement, diffuse, and the roughness, and let's just see what it says here. So the color same as source ACCG, displacement is raw, that is correct. Roughness same as source ACCG. Well, although it says ACCG, it is a floating image, and I think this also should have been that. So if I say Mari float, just say Mari float, that should be correct, I think. And this is also a floating point image, so Mari float. Just linear. Yeah, let's keep it floating point. Is there float 16 anywhere? Okay, 32-bit displacement, 16 roughness, and yeah, those two are 16. That's fine. Channel Udemy XR is fine. Let's go with this and root. My projects, my route. Well, I actually want this to be in my project, so zebra, drawing pixels, line project files. There should be a Mari. No. Okay, Mari folder and choose. Just say fingers crossed. I think we're gonna get really long names, haven't we? Okay, export all. So that should export it, and we should get this inside Blender. I think I did have a file like the turntable tests. Let's bring that one in. So this is a little turntable that I did previously. So if I show you now, just the displacement map, I think. Render image. So this one, it doesn't have the displacement. It should. Okay, so we'll set this material up, and so I'm going to open up the shader editor here. Isn't that a normal map? So I'm going to disconnect all of these materials, create a new one, and call this lion, and bring in some maps. So we want to get the new displacement map. So let's just first of all hit Control T to get all of the texture setups, and we can open the textures we just created. So if I select diffuse color, the first one, and open image, and it's a UDEMY tiles, color space is ACCG. Now, I'm not exactly sure, this is 4.5, so I don't think I've got ACES set up in this blender, so it may not matter us changing the ACCG, but let's see. So that's the base texture. And let's import, let's duplicate this, say displacement disp, where is it? You can use this same vector, say color goes to this, not displacement but this height, displacement height, and this can go into displacement, and the height is, and the scale is I think correct. You'll see here 0.01. So yeah, that gives the displacement, and it also has those details that we added in Mari. It's not perfect, but the scale. No. It does have these artifacts for some reason. I need to figure out. Let's remove that. See, that's gone. No, it's something else actually. Is it? Let's look at the UP map. Oh, okay. I don't think this is the actual mesh. This might be an older version. Ah, right. So if I look at the texture here, and then in Blender, it does look a little different. Yeah. See the UVs. Okay, this is not the right model. Sorry, I'm gonna import a new one. Delete this fella. Import npx and Mari final. It's this one. Yeah, this is the guy. I'm going to have this material and base 2, so just a lion. So everybody gets the line material. Okay, that's more like it. Now this guy in the shader editor, connect this displacement back, and much better. So this is how it looks when rendered, and I think it could, the skin could be darker even. I'm going to parent this model to the cylinder object. I'm going to parent everything else to the line. So all of this, maybe that works. Yeah, now he's doing a little turntable. So now I go to well, actually that should have been -45. Okay, select the line and say -45. Oops, not the translate. Z -45. That's it. And now I have a little turntable going on. So this is nice. We can do some preview renders. I'll do it off stream and post it when it's ready. But if I can do a quick render image. So that's kind of how it looks with the diffuse, and I would say that the light areas we want to be the minority and the dark areas to be the majority. So the cloud texture that we had, I'm going to have to invert that. So in this light setting, um, let's let's do another thing here. What's my resolution? Okay, that's okay. Right. Camera. I think my camera's depth of field is doesn't have the object. So now if I render, it'll look better, cleaner. Yeah, so that's one thing we're gonna have to address is the diffuse color. But also while we're here, let me set up the materials so we can have like a glass texture, glass material. So right click, add a shader and a mix shader. And we'll mix it with the glass, and then we'll export a mask shortly for the transparent part of the eyes. So add, put a, what's that? The shader, yeah, glass BDSF. So I'm gonna just keep this. We'll get the texture shortly on Mari. If I view this now, it'll be like a glassy and mixed with this, but we're gonna use the factor to get it looking right. So let's save this file, go back inside Mari, and where are you? Cloud. So let's look at this cloud. So if we basically inverted B and A, I think we'd be okay. So reduce the intensity to somewhat here. Okay. And then B is the lighter one, but not too light. Maybe something there. And look at the material. Yeah, that might actually give us better result in a strong lighting. So the other thing is we wanted to do a mask. So let's create a channel for that, and we shall call this glass mask, or I don't know, transparency transp. Let's call it trans 2K, and so black is fine, and it's scalar data. Say that's it. So now we have another channel that can be exported. Don't need to connect this anywhere, I don't think, but we shall look at the paint node. So it's all black, and we want to create a mask where just the eye part gets a white. So with the paint selected, I will be what? What happened to this patch? Oh, we don't even have a patch here. Oh, because we hidden it. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, remember we hid it so we could see everything. So visibility, show all. There, we got it. No, not that. These two patches here. So one is here, the other's here. And then what we can do is, while the paint node is selected, if I right click, say fill white, now it's filled white. Right, so if I just isolate this paint, yeah, it's definitely there. And then if I now say export we want to export the diffuse, no need displacement or roughness, but transparency as well, because we made a change to diffuse color, and that looks okay-ish to me. Change this. Yeah, I'll keep it raw. Override. So this is just a 2K texture, but because it's a mask, it doesn't have to be 2 iris. Bring it back up here. We need that texture, so duplicate this, and also I don't know if Blender actually refreshes, so I'll bring back the diffuse color. Yeah, it is darker now. That's much better. But here we want to bring in the transparent image. And this is sRGB. This is non-color. Oh, actually, did we do non-color to the displacement? No, we haven't. So that should be non-color displacement map. It should be more accurate when we do that. And then this is non-color as well because it's a mask. And this is going into the factor. And now everything is glass except the eyes, so obviously that means we need to invert the mask. Yeah, so let's invert. Not factor, color. Yeah, so that makes this transparent and we can see the texture of the eyes. The displacement around the eyes is a little inaccurate as well, so I need to paint that off. And here we may use Beckman. So instantly when the eyes are shown, it looks so much more realistic. And this part needs to be colored black back inside Mari. Does it have any color, the eye? It's not looking orange, so I'm a bit concerned. What happened there? The displacement seems to be working. Why is there no color? Let's hide these faces. I'll just hit those. It does look grey, doesn't it? Is it because something changed here? No, that is correct. So UV map, UV editor, rather. Doesn't look like we got the texture correctly. Where's the orange bit? Okay, that's interesting. So this is the diffuse color. So this is what should have been exported. Diffuse color is a CG 16-bit. Actually, this can be just 8-bit. Export color. What's the other? Maybe. Oh. Does it not like it? Alright. So that's definitely overwritten and it has the color. So why does it not come through in Blender. Let's look. Diffuse color. That's the channel name. Getting the first image, UDEMY tiles, and nothing. I remember seeing something like this happen before. I don't remember what I did to fix it. So yeah, without the colors, you can definitely see there's a lot of diffuse. I mean, displacement, and that's looking correct. Let's see, Shift A, image, texture. Sometimes Blender, if it has the same file name, I don't think it refreshes. So if I now go, well, there might be some other issue because the first texture also had the orange color for the eyes, but it never made it. Base color. Oh, I think it's working now. UV editor. Oh, no, doesn't work. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. Why is the eyes not coming through? But if we did a render now, you can see shader displacement is connected. Let's do a different angle. Yeah, it's mostly all there. The details are there here, and I still think that we're not getting the correct diffuse textures because I'll try closing Blender and reopening it. See, so this is how it's supposed to look. Right, so it is fairly dark. Even if I change the lighting, bring an environment light maybe. Yeah, so that's more accurate. That's kind of what we're going for. Let's see if we can show some transmission in here. So that transmits. Use the properties, specular transmission. weight has been colored, so say shouldn't be color. Never mind. So this is the weight. So the weight I think needs to be inverted. So this goes into transmission weight. That is correct actually, we're just not showing a lot of the environment light. If I turn off the environment light, yeah, it's black. Okay. Okay, let's forget it. So we definitely have exported the right textures. Maybe it's just a Blender thing that I need to figure out, but I will before the next session hopefully. Let's look at the UV editor. So this is the problem, right? The texture's not coming through. What could it be? One thing you can try is add a bake node, bake point, and say for 396, it's not scalar. Let's so we still want to. Alright, we'll do an sRGB big point here. Use blending color space to enable for those merge nodes. Oh right, because we had. For now, I'll just say yes. And now just say bake. And see if it likes it. Ah, see when you bake it, this is what's showing. Okay, so there was an issue with one of these. So this is where something went wrong. And I think okay, so we are multiplying this to 16-bit half. I think it's because we are multiplying different bit depths. If I redo that, so that's the one that didn't come through. I don't know why I went with 8-bit with everything else being 16. This is 32 even. I think that might be the issue. And which one is this? And remove that. Only because I'm multiplying with a 32-bit float image, I'm going to Look at this guy. I think that's... Oh, actually, just select these patches. Maybe I should have linked it first. Let's try baking this and see if it works. Yeah, it's green and we can still see it. So hopefully that... No, it doesn't bake, does it? So it's there in the diffuse. And this is 16-bit R, 16-bit. Yeah, something happened. I'll have to figure that out. I think if I go upstream, actually remove this and see if I can bake this guy. But if I have this over, does it work? Just gonna have to troubleshoot this until we have an answer. Yeah, it's definitely to do with some mixing of channels. So there are some 16 bits and say 32 and 8 bits all being mixed up. We want to try and be consistent with the channel depths. But I'm surprised it didn't complain when I was actually painting. I thought it would. is this 8-bit, and I think these, the one before, is the channel is 16-bit. So I thought 8-bit would have been fine to go into 16, but not the 32-bit, which is this displacement. But why can't I get this to work either? So this is an 8-bit image, and this is a 32, and this is. So if I duplicate this and say change this to 16-bit. This is the one that's breaking. So up to here is working fine. So it breaks on this merge. And 16-bit half, bait. There's another thing I forgot to consider. It's to have this breakpoint, rather, as a 8-bit. Also, it could go right from here, and then this can go into the diffuse channel. Then it breaks right here. Interesting. Okay, that's the thing I have as a homework for myself. Yeah, let me work that out before the next session, because in the next session I'll be texturing this guy for the fur, so we better figure out what's going on here before I do that. So give me an evening to figure that out before the next stream, and I'll come back to you. And until then, this is what we have so far, and I hope you're gonna find a nice spot to render to finish the stream off. Maybe this is a good one. So yeah, so as a homework, I'm going to retexture those bits, and so this is the skin of the lion. I think it's looking pretty good. We can start thinking about the fur texturing, and I'll try and hand paint most of that as well. Maybe a little bit of projection paint here and there, but until then, yeah, until then, it's goodbye from me for this stream. Thank you, all of you, for joining, and we will continue where we left off in the next stream. Goodbye for now.